Um, I'm sorry. I was actually watching the video thing counting down 3, 2, 1, letting me know that this was live. My cameraman's a little stand with the Logitech logo on it. There's a plug if ever I heard one. We'll see how well it works. Um, anyway, today, since this is my first tirade or rant, I was kind of thinking, what am I going to call myself? And while I'm a big Lewis Black fan and Alan King, I'm not a yeller, at least not a lot. So I'm a rant whisperer. Does that work? That's good enough. At any rate, so I was going to start with some headlines for today. Oh, look at that. Yahoo has become unresponsive. I'll kill it. Haha. And just make some generic comments about how I feel about it. I'm not actually going to go in and read the articles. I've sort of thumbed through them today. But I found some of the headlines interesting. Of course, the president has left the climate change accords being in Paris. I understand he left early because the weather was bad. It's an interesting reason. Although I understand he's golfing, or he has been for the last couple of days. The staff can't seem to find him, or they don't want to tell anybody where he's at. They get embarrassed when he goes and golfs, because of course he was never going to go golfing. I just heard from the background that we should refer to him as a fizzy. I'm not sure that would be relevant for a lot of you. It was a tablet that you could drop into water and it would create a fizzy kind of drink. Grape, cherry, lemon, lime. And we always said that people that couldn't be out in the rain were fizzies. I guess Donnie's a fizzy. That works. A couple of the other things that came up today, and you're going to see me looking off here. And what I'm doing is I'm thumbing down through some of the headlines because they're always fascinating. Apparently, Kellyanne Conway can't control her husband because he's taking shots at Donnie. Let's see. I like that. The facts are not your friend, according to Chris Cuomo. Really? Anything else here of any real interest? Comey's going to be testifying, and Trump isn't going to ask for executive privilege because his attorneys told him that it was not the thing to do, considering he's a private citizen. And I guess that's it right now for the headlines that I was interested in. But what I really wanted to rant a little bit about were Tea Partiers. Now, I realize that they're not in the news much anymore. I realize that they're slowly but surely dropping in numbers. But they're kind of the beginning of what's happened to us in the current political climate of our country. And I thought it would be interesting if we kind of took a look at the original Boston Tea Party. And because the Tea Partiers are running around saying that they don't want taxes because they're representing the men from Boston who tossed the tea into the Boston Harbor. It sounds good, but it's wrong. You see, they're running around saying no taxation, which was part of the phrase that was tied to the original Boston Tea Party participants. But there's a second part, just two words: without representation. You see, they were less concerned about the actual tax and more concerned about being represented in Parliament, because that's what they wanted. They didn't care about the tax in reality, because the truth is that the amount of money that tax would have caused upon the individual citizen in the colonies was insignificant. It wasn't the money. It was the fact that they weren't being represented. Now, Tea Partiers are running around saying no taxation. And I'm looking at that and I'm going, but you're being represented. So clearly, you should be taxed. And in case any of you haven't figured it out, if you don't have taxes, you don't have government. Now, I realize that there's a lot of people who would go, yay, no government, except that if you take a look at all the things that wouldn't be around here because of no government, you'd be living a pretty miserable existence. So that's it for the Tea Partiers. Now for the next piece that I want to quietly rant about, the Electoral College. Now, I realize that there's a lot of people out there who see the Electoral College as the means whereby we elect our president, and we've been doing it since the beginning, and that's true, we have. But what you don't realize is that the Electoral College was designed by our founders so that the president was not necessarily elected by the populace. Now, for those of you who need to think about that for a few minutes, that's fine. But the truth is that they established the Electoral College to provide the states, the individual states, with a vote, if you will, as to whether or not someone got elected president. And here's the fun part. You'll recall that Donnie has commented several times about how Andrew Jackson would have kept the Civil War from happening, and he was very disappointed in it, except that he was dead long before the Civil War started. But that's okay. History wasn't his strong suit. Math isn't his strong suit. English isn't his strong suit. Bullshit. That's his strong suit. Okay. So anyway, Andrew Jackson ran for the presidency in 1824, and he won the election. Huzzah! He became president. No, he didn't. Because although he had won the election, although he had the most Electoral College votes, he didn't have a majority. And so consequently, it went to the House of Representatives. Now here's the gem. The people who were running were John Quincy Adams, who became president, Andrew Jackson, who didn't, Henry Clay, and one other who doesn't really play into this with regards to what I'm talking about. Clay hated Jackson with a passion. And so when it was decided to take it to the House of Representatives, Clay politicked to get John Quincy Adams elected president. And more importantly, when John Quincy Adams was elected president, Clay became his Secretary of State. It's a nice cushy deal, a bargain that has been referred to in history negatively. I find it interesting that Donnie won the Electoral College votes, but he didn't win the popular votes. I think Andrew Jackson would be turning over in his grave. We have a simple solution. Get rid of the Electoral College. Have a popular vote. Now, what happens if somebody doesn't get the majority? Well, if their plurality is substantial enough, they're president. We're done. Because the truth of the matter, if you had a runoff, the people who would vote would probably fall into that same racially, or not racially, numerically centered group, and the person with the most votes would win anyway, because then it would be a majority, because there'd only be two people running. Now, we could do a runoff. We do it for every other office. Why the hell don't we do it for the presidency? Truth is, it's not really required, because at that point in time, if the plurality is sufficient enough, then that person should be made president and we should be done with it. The Electoral College is archaic. It is a broken system. It is designed so that someone who does not win a popular election can still be president, which is to some degree why both Republicans and Democrats don't want to get rid of it, because they figure that they can play the system. Well, the Democrats are crappy at it, because the last two times playing the system in this century, the Republicans did it better. I think I'm done for tonight. We'll see how you like what I've said, and maybe I'll get more than 10 visitors who came for my introduction. Thank you and good night.